Well, the radical RSE program, Relationships and Sexuality Education Curriculum, is supposed to be on hold. But there are two groups still pushing it in schools. One you probably won't be surprised by, but the other you'll be very surprised by. Let's check it out. So as you'll remember in the coalition agreement between National and New Zealand First, it said refocus the curriculum on academic achievement and not ideology, including the removal and replacement of the gender, sexuality and relationship-based education guidelines. But of course that had all the media, academics and the teacher unions in a panic. I mean, fancy expecting schools to focus on reading, writing and arithmetic and not be allowed to indoctrinate our kids with the ideology that they have 112 genders to choose from and 200 plus sexualities. Now, a couple of Sundays ago, the Minister of Education was on Q&A on TVNZ and was asked about this issue.
Given your commitment to a knowledge-based curriculum, should transgender issues be taught in our schools?
Look, what we've committed to under our agreement with the New Zealand First Party is to replace and remove and replace the RSE guidelines. And the reason that we're doing that is because we've had huge feedback, not only from parents, but a lot of principals who've actually sidled up to me and said, Erica, you need to get rid of it, it's problematic. And the reasons for that are because of the age appropriateness of some of the material and the fact that in those guidelines, it says things like, here's a way you can spread this right throughout the curriculum, which means that parents don't have the ability to say, actually, I think this is a responsibility for my family to teach, and I'm going to pull my child out of that lesson
because they can take them out of.
Okay, so good points. Huge feedback from both parents and principals that say that the RSE guidelines are problematic. It's age inappropriate and it encourages the material to be spread through other subjects so that parents can't remove their children if they object. Now, of course, there's many other issues, the biologically flawed gender ideology, the extreme sexuality messaging. So has the Ministry of Education paused their marketing of RSE? Has InsideOut stopped being funded and told not to push RSE in schools until the review has been done? Nope, not on your Nelly. Both the Ministry of Education and InsideOut are going full steam ahead and are basically giving the bird to the new government. Now, we've seen the training sessions being run by InsideOut to schools. And it's just a recent course and they're as bad as you'd expect. But we've also noticed that the Ministry of Education is effectively ignoring the Minister of Education and is pushing the RSE as it stands. Now, InsideOut is indoctrinating teaching staff. And the fact that staff sit through these sessions without challenging the ideology, the biological distortion, and the harm it will do to children is quite astounding. But of course, there will be staff who don't agree with it, but will be bullied and ostracised if they dare speak up. So we'll do it on their behalf. Now, let's check out some of the indoctrination. Now, this is for intermediate age and high school. And I'll show you some of the parts of the course that we gained access to. Now, even before doing the indoctrination course, staff have to say how woke they are, whether they use personal pronouns, whether they've already stopped saying offensive words like boy and girl, and whether they've hung LGBT flags on every doorway and wear their LGBT lapel pin with pride. No pun intended. And the title of the session makes the issues raised by the minister look foolish and ignored because they're treating the minister with contempt. It says there, across the curriculum, the exact concern that the government agrees that is a concern. They agree with the parents on this. But InsideOut are on a mission. Stuff the minister, InsideOut are saying. And then kids know their sexuality and their gender at a very young age. Yes, 5, 4, 3. If they talk about boys and girls, maybe because they have a brother or sister, or maybe they're just smart or normal kids, then they can know about diverse gender identities, apparently. If they know about mums and dads, start indoctrinating them with all the other 120 plus genders and 200 plus sexualities. And then it says, don't conflate biology like penis on a boy and uterus on a girl with genders, because that conflates sex and gender. Don't say parents or opposite sex, because that implies there are only two sexes or genders. It says here, if a child is old enough to be cisgender, in other words, born, then they're old enough to be transgender or gender diverse. And they say exposure to gender diversity will not turn children trans. That's fake news, and we know that. Rapid onset gender dysphoria amongst peer groups is a real thing and explains much of the explosion in social transitioning and gender confusion. So, I mean, that slide there is just a complete porky. It says the only person who can know someone's gender is that person. Yep, definitely not the medical doctors and nurses and midwives, and definitely not the parents. You can see where this is all going. Oh, and you'll note above, exploring gender is normal, healthy, natural, normal, and healthy. Yep, nothing says healthy as much as chemically blocking puberty, cross-sex hormones, and removing healthy breasts and penises. Apparently that's Health 101. And then it says, don't say a boy in my class identifies as a girl. No, don't tell the truth. Apparently she is a girl. And don't say boys or girls. Oh, hang on. But you just said to say she is a girl. Now I'm really confused. And then you've got to use their pronouns. Actually, there's not that many pronouns on that slide because they've missed all these ones. Yeah, so I mean, you know, they're falling short. Now, here's a classic. Teachers are told to shift their thinking. Thinking of someone as a girl who uses they, them pronouns makes things trickier than of them as a non-binary person who uses they, them pronouns and helps you see them as they are. So that's less trickier. And then tackling homophobic, biphobic, transphobic language. For example, if you say only women get pregnant or only men have a penis, you know, that sort of shocking stuff. And then they want all staff to undergo or to be indoctrinated. Yes, especially that bigoted groundsperson, of course. Coming out. Nothing about additional counselling or support or thinking about root causes. Nope, nothing like that. Just affirm. And then they talk about what can teachers and school staff do. And note the third one down there. Put aside all biology, reason, science, and repeat after me, there are more than two genders. Respect and use student pronouns. You know, even those who have pronouns like her and she. Hershey. See what I did there? Pronouns for those who love chocolate. My pronouns are her, she. And then what can teachers and school staff do? Support Pink Shirt Day. Oh, that's interesting. We were told Pink Shirt Day is all about all bullying. But it's all linked to out on the shelves and Schools Pride Week. Never realised that, did you? Yeah, right. We all knew. And what about pesky parents? Well, they say, let me just show that one. Follow the child. Remember that these are young children. Seek support for yourself and the student. Yes, it's traumatising brainwashing children, so seek support for yourself. And from the parenting experts, InsideOut, you'll see down the bottom there, unsupportive parents may be just unaware or scared. Or maybe they believe that their son is a boy and their daughter is a girl. You know, that kind of weird view. Or maybe they believe that an 11-year-old who can't figure out what to wear each day and can't clean their room possibly can't figure out why they want to be the opposite sex. Just maybe. Finally, flood the school with imaging and evidence of sexuality and gender because, you know, that's all young people are thinking about. And they talk about their camps, sports, kapahaka, choir. there's a whole lot of red flags there around privacy and safety for girls. And choir? I mean, I could sing soprano in intermediate school before my voice broke. Maybe I was okay, don't go there, Bob. And finally, enrolment forms. Do they ask about mother and father? No. And are there more gender options than biologically correct ones? Whew. Now, you could see why a professional teacher would need a cuppa and a lie down after all of that garbage. But here's the key. It's not only InsideOut continuing this indoctrination. It's even from the Ministry of Education, effectively telling the minister that they'll keep doing what they're doing, no matter what she may say as minister. So let's look at a primary school, and this is from the Ministry of Education website promoting RSE. Now, the last time I looked was when I was doing the road trip last year, towards the election last year, and just after the election. But of course, things have changed. New government, new direction. But Ministry of Education have put up these new videos. So here's one from primary school. Talks about body safety, hygiene, making friends. But that's the conduit to sex education, according to this teacher. Now, he's talking to year 5 and 6, but he actually says he wants it to start at level 1, Primer 1, 5 years old. And he doesn't say friendships, he says relationships. Have a watch.
Hands up to get a relationship for. One person's only 2 people that...
I've been using a range of resources, making sure to focus on the RSE levels, drawing from other different resources out there, but going along that progression line. And it's really important that, so going forward here, schools need to start that at level 1.
So we have a relationship, right? Yeah? So hands up if you've had a relationship before. Relationships happen all the time.
If someone said to me that they didn't want to teach sex ed or relationships and sexuality, I would pull out this book. Level 1, it's about knowing about body safety, hygiene. It's not just going to be about sex. How to make friends. Oh, that's what we're doing at school. But we're supporting the students. We're giving the opportunity through lessons, through experiences to...
Yeah, very clever, because they don't show you the whole curriculum. So that's a primary school. And then there was a intermediate school. And as you watch this, I don't know, there seems to be a bit of coaching here. You'll hear them say you don't have to identify as female or male. And they even show an image of Kate Shepherd, who gave women the vote. But apparently she was a champion for gender confusion.
Because of social networking, there's so much opinion in the world. You need to be able to tell which is good and which is not.
I think it's important to learn about gender and sexual identity so that people feel included, and that makes everyone feel happy.
A bit about how you don't just have to identify as female or male.
Really?
I think the guide has really highlighted for us the importance of consulting with our Māori whānau, our Pacifica family, and just getting their input on what's important for them around RSE education. I think for us as a school, it's looking at that gender identity, looking at who you are, where you sit in the world. I'd want them to...
yes, there are. There's that Kate Shepherd. Now, so those are the new ones, but there was previously one that's still up on the Ministry of Education website from another intermediate school. And I'll just show you 2 short clips here. Listen to what started the process and listen to who they consulted. And then they change all their policies by adding a word, a made up word. Have a watch.
Our initial thinking about gender came because we had a child in our school who transitioned. So we worked with Qtopia here in Christchurch and with InsideOut and had PLD sessions for our staff. One of the things that we looked at as a board was to really look at whether our policies promoted inclusion, and what did inclusion mean, and did our inclusive practices policy actually mention gender. and we felt that it was important, and so we went back to our policies and made sure we wrote that in. They need us to do this to make them feel whole, and so that's what we did. We started seeing gender biases or using gender to organise things in schools where gender wasn't needed to be the way of organising. So an easy one, we don't line up in boys and girls lines anymore.
Oh.
We try really hard not to organise things on the basis of gender.
Race officials talking to the group of children who were lining up ready to do sprints, I noticed the amount of times that they were referred to as boys. Boys listen up, boys step forward, boys do this. And I thought for any child that's gender diverse or questioning, they are hearing a repeated language about gender that might not be helpful for them.
If the way we organise our school keeps on making them have to choose boy or girl and feel uncomfortable, even if it's just inside with that decision, then that's a problem.
Oh, that's a problem. Boys, girls, that is a problem. I was thinking if a child transitions to the opposite sex, which, you know, they tend to do, then do you also have to stop saying boy and girl, even though they are identifying as a boy or a girl? And it's a good question, isn't it? It's the same question, the question is, if there's so many genders, why do people transitioning mostly transition to the opposite sex? Maybe there is a binary, but anyway, perhaps the binary is real. There's a wild idea. Just a little bit more of this
A really
one.
simple thing we looked at was our uniform. And so we took the boys and the girls' headings off. We combined the list into a single list and said uniform, and these are the uniform items. And children and families choose to wear what they feel comfortable in.
We've made a real effort now in our school to make sure that the books in our library reflect diversity. William's doll, Heather has two mummies.
I could see that he was becoming emotional now.
Another thing I love to do is choose novels to share with the children that really get them thinking and put them in situations where they're immersed in something that might not be part of their world, so that they get different perspectives. And currently I'm reading the book, my brother's name is Jessica.
The idea of putting pronouns at the end of your email signature came from some work that we did with Qtopia and InsideOut a couple of years ago, and our teachers in our Year 7 and 8 team chose to put that on their signature. It sends a really strong message. We had a flagpole already, so we got the New Zealand flag, and then we started inquiring about the cultural affiliations of our community. So we bought the Pride flag about 3 years ago. We've flown that several times, but last week was Pride Week, and we made a really big point of putting it up the flagpole then.
Yes, nothing says more about culture and cultural values than pride. And then high schools. Yes, the Ministry of Education have posted some new videos around high schools using RSE. Sexuality isn't just your identity or your orientation, it's who you are and what you need, apparently. And young students saying we're not just talking about racism and homophobia and sexual identity. Well, I bet they are. And in this clip, you'll hear that the teacher is a cis white female. Well, no, she's a woman, but she says she needs to be careful. It's not my story to tell.
We need to be inclusive of different cultural values. We need to be respectful of our students' values. And we need to kind of look at both sex and sexuality in a holistic approach, so that the kids can understand that sexuality isn't just your identity or your orientation, it's who you are and what you need.
It's really important for a health teacher to be open about everything and really understanding, because you come into this class and we talk about so many things like racism and homophobia and sexual identity, and if there's a teacher that's not open-minded and like respects everyone's opinion, you're not going to really want to be here.
I identify as a cis white female, so I need to be careful of how I teach gender identity coming from my perspective, because in some ways it's not my story to share. But we still need to be responsible for teaching those things. There are amazing things online where you can get people's stories who identify with what they've experienced and use that for teaching resources. So we're not standing up the front saying, I think a trans person would feel like this. We don't know, but we need to get the stories of our trans community or any part of our community to educate.
And just a bit more of this one, be an ally, and check out the flag in the background. I mean, there's no agenda, eh?
I didn't think about things that I think about a lot now, and it just, like, with the whole relationships part of it, like, about how to be, like, a good ally and how to be there for people.
Whether it's just, like, learning about assertive talking, or whether it's just, like, the actual, like, whole sexuality unit, and then there's, like, the relationships and everything, you get a lot all from it, and it all connects, and you can take it all in very well.
Yeah, so the Ministry of Education is still pushing, marketing RSE, despite what the Minister of Education is saying. And they're funding and using a group called InsideOut, who we know are radical and extremists, and who aren't actually staying in their lane. Let me just show you a couple of memes that they put up on their social media, or statements, and it quickly tells you that they do not like this current government. Here's one. The 54th Parliament of the settler colony of New Zealand has officially opened. This is InsideOut posting this. Down the bottom, the promises in the coalition agreement reflect the violent, ongoing presence of colonisation in Aotearoa. We will continue to fight for a Te Tiriti-led Aotearoa. And then they condemn everything they can find, including the rolling back of their darling RSE curriculum. But basically they condemn all the other reactionary policies in the coalition agreement. We must fight. And then they also, in this bit you'll see up the top there, the intersection of white supremacy, settler colonialism, and racial capitalism. Whew, boy. Does the government actually realise that they're funding InsideOut and InsideOut are blasting them like this? And does the government realise that InsideOut are completely ignoring the direction that the government is going in? And does the Minister of Education know that her ministry is also ignoring her, treating her with contempt? It's quite astounding. But the challenge, therefore, is for parents that even though the government has signalled good intentions, you still need to check what's happening at your local school. Now, if you want to know exactly what is in the curriculum that you should be concerned about, go to sexeducation.nz. We've got it all outlined there. And then if you want to know what to do, read our parent guide, parentguide.nz, and it tells you exactly what is involved in the curriculum and how you can push back on the school in a respectful way and get the results that you need. So there we are. The Ministry of Education and InsideOut are ignoring the government, giving them the bird, treating them with contempt. And it's a warning for parents. Check your local school. Make sure that this radical curriculum is still not being indoctrinated into your child's mind. You'll be glad you checked.